you've got a secret bonus point.
What happens when a small group of former Konami employees decides to form their own company? You get McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure, of course, duh. Alright, that's not the game we're here to talk about today. And it isn't Gunstar Heroes either. No, today I share with you my thoughts on Dynamite Headdy from developer Treasure. Welcome all to I Dream of Retro Games. Remember to check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames, which is our sister channel where you can get content like this 2 days early. Oh, and it's also completely ad-free and you're supporting independent content. So thank you very much for that. We have a link available in the description box below. As always, hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy what we do here, but without further ado, let's talk about Dynamite Headdy. Treasure sadly has been MIA since 2014, but perhaps a few of these other titles also ring a bell. Mischief Makers, Radiant Silvergun. Yeah, those were some pretty epic games from an equally epic developer, and Dynamite Headdy is no exception. The beautiful pixel graphics that push the Genesis to its limits, the simplistic yet effective controls, and the bonkers soundtrack all come together to create a zany and really unique experience on the Genesis. Released August 5th of 1994 in Japan and September 94 here in North America, followed by an October European release, Dynamite Headdy throws players head first, you see what I did there, into the Treasure Theater show. You're tasked with defeating Dark Demon and his henchmen along with the Keymasters. Wait, wasn't that a Kingdom Hearts thing? Who knows, maybe Square Enix was playing some Dynamite Headdy. While this threat is menacing, it's important not to lose your head. Well, they do say lose it or use it. Wait, that's not the expression either. But either way, take control of Dynamite Headdy and use your head along with a variety of head upgrades to bash down enemies and bosses in your path and hopefully save the day. The first thing that really stood out to me is the design of Dynamite Headdy himself. You can tell Treasure was very much trying to capture the cartoony spirit and attitude of a character like Sonic while adding their own unique twist. Indeed, Headdy was made to feel like a puppet where his body parts felt loose and could be used as a weapon, mainly that head that I've mentioned multiple times at this point. And his head, or heads, you shall use indeed. In fact, there are 17 different heads in total, which I think really helps this game to stand out from other 2D action platformers of the time. There's an exploding head you can use, a vacuum head, a head that makes you shrink so you can get into areas that are otherwise unreachable, and there's even one that puts you to sleep, so some of them are negative. Bad Headdy, very bad. Whichever head you have strapped to your shoulders, you'll push forward through some of the most candy-coated levels that you'll ever see on the Sega Genesis, with levels that auto-scroll, intense platforming sections, and of course, boss battles. Some absolutely bonkers ones at that. I didn't even mention the basketball bonus minigame, which has a secret code in it to unlock the true ending. Should players make enough baskets, which is easier said than done, this is a very strange bonus game, but it was kind of fun to mess around with. You'll get a digit that can then be used at the end of the game. Once you've collected all of the digits, or should you collect all the digits, you'll unlock that secret. That's some cool 90s stuff right there. I felt that each level in Dynamite Headdy really felt unique, which I absolutely loved, and there's also really only 2 buttons to be concerned with, your jump and your attack. This simplistic control scheme works really well, with Dynamite Headdy feeling quite responsive, and the level design still standing the test of time, so it's still a very playable game. But of course, just as you might expect, this is a retro-hard experience. You will go back to the beginning should you die and run out of lives. There are some lives across the levels to be collected if you're lucky, but expect a soul-crushing experience. Somehow, if it's not tough enough, there is yet another cheat code here, and you can actually make it so that you can only take 1 hit. That is some intense stuff. Alright, sure, Dynamite Headdy is full of tough platforming and challenging bosses, but honestly, it is a bit more manageable when compared to a lot of retro games. At least when you take a fall into a pit, it's not an instant kill. You can take quite a few hits of damage as well. And fun fact, in the North American version, you're going to find a more difficult game. This change was made by Sega of America because they didn't want folks completing it in a rental, and I feel like a lot of games actually made this change. Other changes include a ton of dialogue being removed, which was something I definitely noticed. You really don't get a ton of context to what you're doing here, and even some of the characters and boss sprites were changed. If you do happen to be playing just for nostalgic reasons, you'll be happy to know that the level select code is at least pretty easy to input. But in the end, players ultimately received one very unique platformer here that even in 2023, at the time of this video, remains an enjoyable playthrough. Hell, I play a ton of games in this genre over on my main channel, I Dream of Indie Games. I know I'm shameless, link in the description box below. And in many cases, developers today still can't match the eye candy, the crazy level design, and the explosive chaos that is Dynamite Headdy. It's a very different kind of platformer, a little out there, but a whole lot of fun. If you're interested in playing it for yourself and maybe don't want to dig out the old Genesis, you do have a few options, but sadly not as many as you once did. Japan got the game on PlayStation 2 in a collection known as the Sega Ages 2500 Gunstar Heroes Treasure Box back in 2006. It also appeared on the now shut down Wii Virtual Console, but fear not, if you still have a PS3 or 360, Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection has you covered. It's a great collection of games and one I certainly owned. Do note, however, that the game isn't backwards compatible, which is hella lame. In more modern times, the game is available on PS4 and Xbox One, as well as on the Nintendo Switch. I think it's also worth mentioning that Dynamite Headdy received a Master System version in Brazil only, as well as a Game Gear port, which honestly captures the spirit of the game, but isn't nearly as fun to play as it is on Genesis. So don't let Dynamite Headdy be lost to time. This is a great treasure, pun fully intended, of the past, with many considering it one of the best platformers available on Genesis, and honestly, to an extent I would agree. It's tough to find much to dislike about this game. It looks colorful, especially for a Genesis game. It still plays really well with all the different heads being a blast to use. The levels are interesting, they're challenging, it's chaotic, with a retro soundtrack that delivers some really insane musical compositions that are off the wall with all of the signature Sega crunch. Personally, I wish we got a lot more Dynamite Headdy. I would love to petition for this character to come back in some form, but with the developer not really working on much these days, maybe it will never happen, sadly, yet you'll live on in Sega fans' hearts, Mr. Heady. I thank you again for checking out this retro review here at I Dream of Retro Games. Be sure to like and subscribe if you've yet to do so that we can continue to bring you more amazing retro content. We hope you've been enjoying it as much as we have liked creating it. Be sure to check out patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. You'll get Discord access to our amazing community, along with some other awesome perks like early ad-free versions of shows just like this. Strap on those 90s 3D glasses, folks, and keep it retro. I'll see you in the next video.